Okay, good morning. So last session we learned about some elements and in the form elements we discussed about how do we deal with the control meter, right? We learned about how to use a drop down list and how to design a list box and how to design meter control. Next important another we have a progress bar. So we have progress bar. Working with progress bar, how do we deal with the progress bar? Right? Voice. So progress bar, the purpose of progress bar is it is used to display status of any task performed by web page. Status bar is usually used to display status of any task performed by web page. So any task performed by web page means like downloading, uploading, so copying, right? Downloading, uploading, copying, etc. Copying, etc. So generally, when you are performing the tasks like downloading and uploading, usually we need to show the status, means how much time completed, how much time remaining in performing the task. That we do by using progress bar. But these days, much of progress bars are not seen in websites. These days, you will see majority spinners. People use spinners regularly in websites instead of progress bars. Progress bar in some websites you can observe that, for example, you are doing some bank transaction and you made some order. It will take some time to process the order, and how to show the status for user to how much time waiting, how much time remaining in completing the process. Such things are done by using progress bar. And this is also we don't control manually. We control these progress bars with the help of dynamic logics. We can't manually adjust the values for them. So, for example, suppose we will see here, same in the field set, I will keep here downloading, and I will keep a data list, data term. So preparing for download, and here data definition. Here progress bar is designed same like your meter control. That means syntactically it is designed by using progress. Progress is an element for displaying progress bar, and for progress the attributes that we have, the attributes for progress same we have like min. No need to explain what is min, max and value. All these options we know. So min, max and value, only these three are there. Low and high is for meter. So we have progress with min, max and value. So let's see. I am designing here, preparing for download. I am just using a progress. And when we are using progress, you can see the progress element looks like this. Let's open that page. So the progress element looks like this. That is progress bar. It's very commonly seen in websites. When you are downloading, uploading, or doing some process, the progress bar have some animation to show. But majority of these days websites use spinners. We use spinners regularly because progress bar, a bar have to display. Instead of that, a small round spinner is enough to show in a small area. Because suppose I want to show in a button, progress bar is not great to fit in a button. That's the reason we prefer using spinners and others. So, but this is also used, but we have more better than this in the modern web development. But for that, only HTML is not enough. We have to use Bootstrap, CSS. With that, we can make more better progress bars. But if only HTML, remember, I am telling you 2 points regularly every time. I am saying that with HTML, this is there. But in modern development, we don't prefer this. We use another. Every time, majority of situations, I am telling you these points. Then you may have a doubt like, then why can't we learn only the modern things? So why have we have to learn this old concept also? That is because generally, if you ask, so which one is best? That means HTML is best, or with CSS and Bootstrap is best. One simple basic thing you have to keep in your mind, that with HTML, whatever possible if you do, that is good. So that is easy for browser to understand and it is faster. And if you apply CSS and Bootstrap, it will take some time. That means if you try to keep more effects with CSS and Bootstrap, it will take more time. That means if you are okay with time consumption, then you can go with CSS and Bootstrap, because in certain points, appearance is important for us. So time is not a constraint. In that case, what we can do, we can go with CSS and Bootstrap, because later I will explain browser architecture. In the introduction, I told you, generally we have HTML. HTML have DOM. This point already we learned, document object model. Actually, if in a web page you are using CSS, CSS also have object model. HTML have object model and CSS also have object model. Then what happens is, when you start a web page, that contains 2 cycles now. One cycle for HTML DOM, another cycle for CSS object model. That means our browser have to compile, that means it have to parse. Parse means translate. Translate the DOM, and it should parse CSS object model also. That means it need to translate the document object model and it should translate CSS object model. Both it should translate. If it is translating both, that means it will take more time. So if you avoid using this CSS in your web page, then time performance will be better. It will take less time. So if you are very concerned about time, not the appearance, then you can go with general HTML options. If you are okay with the time, just 1 to 2 milliseconds difference is coming, then you can go with your CSS. That depends on requirement. right? That's the reason you see some websites are still using old techniques and some websites are using modern options. That depends on requirement. For example, I will show you the object model. Later in JavaScript, we will detailedly discuss about that. Just let me show you the object model, how it looks like. So this is the document structure actually. This is the document model. That means when you are using CSS, we have two parts in that. So we have actually two parts. So we have two parts. One is HTML have DOM. HTML is having DOM. HTML is having DOM. And CSS is having OM, object model. Now these two have to render and they have to convert into layout. If you are not using this CSS part, it will reduce the time. If you are not using that CSS part, it will reduce the time. It will be more faster in performance. These things you will learn in JavaScript and all. This is too early to discuss about document model, rendering mechanisms of browsers and all that you will learn in programming. So as of now, just you need to understand this is actually the concept. That is the reason whenever I am saying that, so in HTML this option is there, but in modern development we use other options we are not using because we are concerned about appearance, then we go with CSS. Not concerned about appearance, then go with HTML. So even HTML progress bar is having some limits. That means that is the progress bar we are using here. Let's open this now. So this is the progress bar and I given here preparing for download. Let's go into the design here. So yep. So let's go into the design here and here I am creating another data term. Suppose say 70% downloaded. Then how you give that data definition? We have a progress. In the progress we can use min is equal to 1, max equal to 100 and the value is 70. Then it same looks like meter control, 70% complete. But through JavaScript, what we can do, we can change the value gradually, increase 1%, 2%, 10%, 20% like that. For that we have to write JavaScript programs. Through JavaScript programming, we have to control the progress bar increasing, decreasing. We have to write logic for that. So as of now, we can just display this. If I want to show 100%, same like meter, the value must be how much? 100. So then we have to define here some downloaded. That means it will display like download. So same like meter, nothing special. Even you don't have any colors and effects for this. So plain, but only one extra thing is you have some animation for that. Progress animation can be displayed. So meters don't have animation and progress bar will have an animation. That is only the difference. So syntactically we define in this way. So progress and min, max and value. So that's how we configure min, max and value. Progress, stop there. That is the progress bar. But now later in Bootstrap you will learn different types of progress, how you can give. Already we have learnt spinners. So means we have learnt Bootstrap, link, how to link the Bootstrap. You all people tried it, checkbox switch mode, you tried? working with Bootstrap. So if you've done that, yeah, if you've done that, so because if you've done that, then actually, because already Bootstrap is linked to our website, means it is linked to our page bootstrap.css. You can try this. You can see, suppose, so we have a span or a div. We are having a span or a div. And in this, we can just use a class. We have a class called spinner. Spinner have different styles. So we can just give spinner. Spinner have grow style. So spinner have a border style. We have two types of spinners we are having. Suppose if I give spinner border, that means just a spinner class. Later in Bootstrap you will learn. I am just showing you that it looks like this. These days for progress, we are showing these kind of spinners. We are not showing progress bars because these spinners can fit in a small button instead of showing in a progress bar. That you will learn later. No need to worry now. So to make you understand what is spinner, I am showing that, right? Later in CSS Bootstrap, you are going to learn about them. So progress and spinners are mostly used for showing the status. Okay. Next important after progress bar, we have another form element, text area. Text area. Another form element is text area. Text area, it is used for multi-line text. Multi-line text. Because text box cannot display multi-line text. To display multi-line text, you need a text area. Text area is used for multi-line text. So it is an RC data type. So that means you know the meaning of that. Only plain text. Only plain text is supported. Only plain text. So you have to just define text area and close this text area. Text area allows you to type text in multiple lines. Attributes, we have simple. Additional attributes I am giving. General attributes are common. General attributes means ID, name, class, they are common. Additional attributes, we have rows and calls. Means how many rows and how many columns you want. You can use read only, you can use disabled. So these are also available to use. For every element we can use read only and disabled. But for text area also we commonly use this read only and disabled. So text area is nothing but, for example, I want to display here. Let's clean up this Bootstrap thing. Yeah, I will remove this Bootstrap styles and all. Keep it clean. Okay. Now here I am just adding a field set and with a legend, and here we will keep some title as your comments. Now user have to type comments. Generally to type comments, if I keep a text box, input type is equal to text, because we need text input. And in the next line I will put a button, say post comment. Okay. Now you can see initially it looks like this. Now what is problem is another line break just. Okay. Now the problem is in this we can type only one line text, and when you type more it will continue. When you press enter, then it is submitted. So it is not next line. That means text box usually allows only one line, single line. So if I press enter, then it is submitted. So this is a text box which will not allow multiple lines. For multiple lines, better instead of using a text box, you have to use an text area. Text area. Text area automatically gives you like text box only. And here you can adjust this text area. Adjust the text area. You can enter text in multiple lines. You can enter the text in multiple lines. It will come to next line automatically. So the point is, you can by default keep some text also. Suppose you want to adjust the height and width default, then you can use rows. Rows how many? 4, and calls how many? Some 40. And you can see according to that width and height will be adjusted. If you want, you can keep some default text inside it. So for example, inside text area, okay. So inside this text area, you can keep some text, your text, you can keep some text there. And if you want, you can make changes into that text. Or sometimes what we do, I showed you license terms and conditions and all. Such things what we can do, we can put in this, and if we don't want anybody to modify, just only read, then we can make it as read only. If I make it as read only, nobody can modify, but it is submitted. I don't want it to submit also. Then better to give it as disabled. Disabled means it will show in the page, but it will not submit. That's enough. That means it will show the text so that user can just only read, and it is not posted to server. It is not submitted to server. That you can manage by using this technique. So disabled, read only, all these are general attributes. So wherever you want to allow to type multiple lines of text, like you asked them to enter address, you asked them to enter comments, you asked them to compose a message, then for that we don't use a text box, we use an text area, right? Syntactically, this is how we have to define text area. Rows is equal to some 4, calls is equal to some 40, and here your text optional, and text area close. As I already told you that it is an RC data type. RC data type means you cannot enter any formatted text there. Formatted text means bold, italic, or images or anything else you cannot keep. It can be only plain text, right? So that is text area. Next, in a form, another important elements you have to understand is about buttons. This is important. Buttons. Generally, if anyone asks what is the purpose of button, what do you say? Purpose of button. What is the purpose of buttons? Submit, register, all such options. So actually, buttons are used to confirm user actions. Buttons are used for confirming user actions. That means, so you typed something. After typing, how to confirm that I finished? You typed something, how to confirm that I finished typing? That means I finished. Then I click a register button or a submit button. How to confirm that I don't want? Means I will click a cancel button. How to confirm that I have to save this now? By clicking a save button. How to confirm that I have to undo? then I'd have to click an undo button. That means buttons are used for confirming user actions. So they are used for confirming user actions. Any confirmation from user side is finished by using a button. Buttons confirm your actions. So that means they will say that yes, no, okay, cancel, save, print. All such things are actually user actions, confirming user actions. HTML provides two types of buttons. HTML provides two types of buttons, generic and non-generic buttons. HTML provides two types of buttons, generic and non-generic buttons. Generic and non-generic buttons. What is difference is actually generic buttons have predefined functionality. Generic buttons have predefined functionality. That means they ready-made have some work. They do some work by default. You don't need to tell what to do. They do some work by default. That means already some functionality is designed for them. Then such buttons are called as generic. Generic buttons means the buttons that have some predefined functionality. Ready-made functionality is present. Then we call that as generic buttons. And to design generic buttons, so many techniques are there. In older version, HTML4. In HTML4, we use input type. Input type is equal to submit. It is a generic button. And input type reset. It is a generic button. These two are generic buttons in HTML4. In HTML5, button type is equal to submit, and button type is equal to reset. These are HTML5 buttons. What is difference also I will tell you. But the concept is same for both of them. These two are generic buttons. In HTML4 older version, we used to use this input type submit or input type reset. But in HTML5, we use button tag. First, we will see why they are called generic buttons. What is specialty of HTML5? Here a simple note is HTML5 button allows symbols and images. HTML5 button allows symbols and images, which are not allowed in HTML4. HTML4 buttons plain text. HTML4 button uses plain text and special characters. Plain text and special characters. Special characters like dollar, greater than, less than, all such special character symbols will come. But symbols are not possible, images are not possible with the help of HTML4 button. So generic buttons have predefined functionality, and two are generic buttons, submit button and reset button. What is difference here is, see, means how these buttons are handled. So why they are called generic buttons, you can see. I will design here. So field set, legend, say register user. So data list, data term, so username, and data definition, input type text, and a name as username. Okay, and let's keep here input type is equal to button. Input type equal to submit. That is one. Another input type is equal to reset. These two are generic buttons, HTML4 these are. Let's keep everything inside a form, which is important. Okay. Now see here, this is the page. And we just designed these buttons, input type submit, input type reset. We haven't written any functionality for them, just only buttons we designed. Now see, when I type something inside it, some name, and click on reset button, then automatically it will reset the form. Means it have a functionality. By default, it is having some work. We haven't written anything. So they by default have that functionality. So that is the reason they are called as generic buttons. Similarly, submit also. You entered some name and click on submit button. It have the ability to submit the form, means post the data. When I click on submit, it can post the data. It submits the data. Already we know, if method is get, it will submit in URL. If method is post, it will submit in form body. So submit button, reset buttons by default have work. They default have some functionality. So that is submitting the form and resetting the form. But remember, inside this submit button, I can give value. Value is nothing but what you want to display as value. I will give as register. And submit button will have the value register. And reset button will have the value some cancel. We have the value like cancel. So you type something and click cancel, it resets the form. You type something and click on register, it submits the form. Its name may be different. What you see, the text may be different, but functionality will be same. You put cancel, you put register, you put submit, anything, reset, everything, labels you can change. But functionality for submit button will be submitting the form. Functionality for reset button will be reset the form. Remember, don't think that reset form means cleaning the form. It is not making the form empty. Reset form is nothing but reset the form to its default values. Reset the form to default values, not cleaning. Don't think that reset is cleaning the form, making the form empty. It's not making the form empty. It is resetting the form to the normal state, its default state. That means, for example, so for text box, I given value as some John. That means by default, the value is John. I typed some David and I clicked on cancel. What will happen? Will it be empty? It will not be empty. It will be reset to John, default state. If you keep checked, that checked will be the default state. It is not making empty. Don't think that reset means empty. Reset is not empty. It is just keeping the form to the default state. That's what actually meaning of reset. But problem is, as value, you can keep only normal text. Suppose I am adding like this. I am adding ampersand LT. So semicolon. This is a HTML string for less than. You can keep such symbols. But you cannot have icons, pictures, images. You cannot have them. So that means you can put only character-based special symbols. Only character-based special symbols you can keep. You cannot have icons, images there. Then you can try now the latest HTML5 buttons. Latest HTML5 buttons we can write like a button, and type is equal to what? Submit. And here you can keep anything you want. You can keep some text. Actually it is a ordinary empty button. Currently it is an empty button. Here you can keep like register, that is a text. And if you have bootstrap icons, let's link bootstrap icons. Link relation is equal to style sheet, and href is from node modules bootstrap icons. And here I am giving a span. I am giving a span, and here class bi and bi and bi people, something like this. People. Now you can see register have an icon there. Register have a symbol there. You can keep any type of symbols, icons. You can keep an image. For example, I defined another button, and the button type is reset. You can put an image here, img src. You can give image from assets, suppose bullet.png, and you can see in the button there will be an image. But functionality will be generic. Generic means, so the first, this button, star button, its type is reset, then it will work as reset. Whatever symbols, icons you give doesn't matter for that. When I click on that button, it will reset. And this button is used for submitting. When I click on register, it will submit that value. Only the difference between the HTML4 and 5 buttons, HTML5 buttons allows you to put some images, symbols, icons. They are more richer than the HTML4 buttons. That is the reason default these days you will not see input type submit, input type recent anymore. They are old. Now everywhere we use these options, input type directly by using buttons. Button type as submit, button type as reset. One important point is there. So another point is in HTML, in not only I will give that, in HTML5, if button type is not defined, in HTML5 if button type is not defined, by default it acts as submit. If you return a button without any button type, then by default it is a submit button. By default it is a submit button. So submit buttons are defined in this way. That means you return a button. So register and close. Here button type is not mentioned. If button type is not mentioned, it is what type of button? Submit. By default it works as a submit button. So that is the reason it is always good to mention the type. What is the type of button you have to define. So if button type is not defined, it will act as submit button. See, let's go to the design here. Suppose for this button, I am not giving type as submit. Button type submit I am not giving. And you see button type submit is removed. I entered some name and click on register. Now it is submitting. That means by default it have the ability of submit. One more important note is there. Another important note is, if generic buttons are not placed in a form container, if generic buttons are not placed in form container, they will not have generic functionality. If generic buttons are not placed in form container, they will not have generic functionality. That means they will not submit or they will not reset. So many times people come with a complaint saying that, sir, I am using a submit button, it is not submitting. You are using a submit button and it is not submitting, then two problems may be there. First problem, make sure that the button is inside form. Second, make sure that the elements inside the form have name. Already I told you, if form elements don't have a name, then form cannot submit their values. Form element must have a name and buttons must be inside the form. For example, see these buttons, I remove these buttons here. I remove this button here and I kept outside form. Outside form, we are keeping those buttons. That means now buttons are outside the form. Now I am typing something here. I am typing something here and click on this button. It's not working. It's not resetting. So, and I click on register. It is not submitting. It's not submitting. That is regular complaint. Because many people come with this complaint that my submit button not working, my reset button not working. Then so many reasons will be there. One is either you haven't mentioned them inside the form, or the elements in the form don't have a name so that it cannot show you submit and reset. It's mandatory that elements must be inside the form. Without form, many times people design these elements, then submit and reset will not work, right? That is very important. This is all about generic buttons. Now what about non-generic button? Non-generic buttons are static and not defined with any functionality. Non-generic buttons are static and not defined with any functionality. And not defined with any functionality. And we have two options: input type button in HTML4 and just button type as button. This is in HTML5. Button type as button, it is HTML5. And input type button, that is HTML4. These are non-generic buttons. Even you kept inside the form, they don't have any functionality. They don't have any functionality. The functionality is defined. The functionality is defined manually by using any scripting language like JavaScript, jQuery. By using that, we have to define the functionality. So by default, they don't have any functionality. You see, let's create those buttons here. Delete them. Yeah. And here I am writing input type is equal to button. This is one button. It is an empty button. So then another one is button type is equal to button. Now you see these two buttons are initially empty. They don't have any text. I given some value. For value is print, and that is one button. Another button you can keep symbol, icons and all. I given here as save, something like this, save. And you can see these two are buttons and they don't have any functionality. I click print, nothing will happen. I click on save, nothing will happen, because these are the static buttons. Functionality you have to write. On click, what should happen. For submit and reset, you don't need to write. By default, they have some work. And for these buttons, you can define, you have to define functionality. That is what you will see in JavaScript, jQuery, how to define functionality. Now, one more question is, so this is enough. These are buttons, ordinary buttons. So How to define these buttons? Syntactically, we have to define with some value. So input type is equal to button and they need value as some print. And we have a button type is equal to button, and here we said some save and button. So these are non-generic buttons. So to design the forms, all these options are required. Configuring and specifying all these options through button. Yeah. Now, once we know this, how we can handle the buttons. One more question here asked is, one frequently asked question is, can we configure additional functionality for submit and reset buttons? Can we configure additional functionality for submit and reset buttons? That means you said that submit and reset buttons by default have some functionality. Now the question is, can we add more functionality? That means submit button is already submitting. What else you can add more? It is already submitting. What else you can add more? Before submitting, I want to validate the data. Means I have to verify the data is according to requirement or not. That means I want some validations to happen before submitting. I want to submit to specific location. In that case, okay, so we have to submit to specific location. If we want to submit to specific location and to specific target, then along with submit functionality, we need to add some more functionality. That means already submit button is doing some work. That is not enough. For example, if anybody clicks reset without confirmation, if it resets, then he will lose his data. Right? Accidentally he clicked reset button, then he will lose the data. Whatever he typed, it's gone. That means when user clicks reset, don't reset immediately. Just take a confirmation. Are you sure you want to reset? That means we need some additional functionality for submit and reset also. So the answer for this, yes, form element uses on submit and on reset. Like this, I will uses A on submit and B on reset. For handling additional functionality, they use on submit and on reset. That means syntactically we write like this. That you will learn in JavaScript, but before that you need to know the answer. Form on submit is equal to some function, and on reset is equal to some function. So that is some additional functionality we define for the form. So we can configure additional functionality for submit and reset buttons. Those functions you will learn later. Temporarily, I will show you. Let's go to the design, and here I will make these buttons. Button one is submit, another button is reset. Then for first one, type is submit, second one type is reset. And see, here in the form we have to write on submit some function that you will learn in JavaScript later. Temporarily, see, I am writing some alert. Here I will put a message, form submitted, this message. And another option on reset alert, and I am keeping form will reset. We can ask questions, okay, cancel, so much is there. As of now, I am giving this functionality. Remember, these are not linked with these buttons. They are not linked with these buttons. You haven't written inside button. You have written for form, but form have ability to recognize them. That means if you click submit button, automatically form will fire up on submit. If you click reset button, then it will fire up reset. So you see now here, I click on reset. I entered something. I click on reset. Then it will pop up. Form will reset. That means already reset have a work. But before doing that work, we are showing some confirmation. That means we are adding additional functionality. When user confirms OK, then it will reset. Similarly, when I click submit, it says form submitted. I click OK, then it submits. We can add several work. I just given only a small alert showing you that we can add additional functionality. So this example will be like this. We have a form, and on submit, I just kept an alert. In that alert, we have a message, form submitted. And on reset, we have an alert. And that alert, form will reset. That's how we need to design the form. And inside that, you can keep button type as submit. This is submit button. And you can have another button type as reset, which is reset button. This is the form. Those alerts and all you will learn in JavaScript later, right? So, but initially we need to understand this. So, why I am using single quote already I told you in the beginning, right? In a string, you have to write another string. Then inner strings are written with single quote, right? Or you can swap between them. Outer string can be single quote, inner string can be double quote. You can change like that. This is one option. Another question regularly comes in interviews. Another question is, can we define multiple submit buttons? Can we define multiple submit buttons in a form? Can we define multiple submit buttons in a form? Remember, if a form is having 4 submit buttons, all will do same work. submit button only. All will do the same work. This is a tricky question. This explores the interviewer about your knowledge of HTML and logic. Why? Because so majority people will go wrong here, right? So people who technically haven't learned complete concept of forms, they will go wrong here. That means because here they can twist you with the question like, can we have multiple submit buttons? If you say yes, we can have multiple submit buttons, he will ask, why should we have? Why should we have multiple submit buttons? Because all submit buttons are going to do the same work. That means see here. So I will give here. So one is, this is in button type submit, another button, and this type also submit, but the word I given as register, right? Okay, I given another button. So this button also type as submit, I given as post. 3 buttons, submit buttons. Now you see, I am going here and I click on some name and click on submit. It is submitting, alert is coming, form submitted, okay. I entered some other name, I click register, it is also same. I entered some other name, I click on post, it's also form submitted. That means the point, the answer for first one is, can we define multiple submit buttons in a form? Answer is yes. Then obviously immediate question will come, why a form needs, why a form need multiple submit buttons? Multiple submit buttons. Why a form need multiple submit buttons? Why a form need multiple submit buttons if all buttons are doing the same work? If we don't need multiple submit buttons, why they have given facility of having multiple submit buttons? If we don't need multiple submit buttons, why they have given that facility of having multiple submit buttons? These type of tricky questions will come regularly. So the point is, why you need multiple submit buttons? The answer for this is to handle various functionalities. To handle various functionalities. Now the question is how they handle various functionalities. Such questions will come. How they handle various functionalities. To handle various functionalities means, see, actually, why you need multiple submit buttons? We need multiple submit buttons to handle various functionalities. Functionalities like, suppose I am giving here like, let's keep a simple option, database operation here. I will give an option here. Suppose database operations. We have a button and its type is submit and we given as insert. And another option is all are submit. One option is insert. One option is update. Another option is delete. That means all these three are 3 different submit buttons. One for inserting a record, another for updating a record, another for deleting a record. That means all must submit the form. But the person who is writing logic, he will decide which action to perform for which submit button. That means for JavaScript people, they will ask a question here. How you will know which submit button click? Because all are submit buttons only. All are submit buttons only. Then how you will know which submit button clicked? Actually, what we can do is that later in JavaScript I will tell you. But as of now, just only answer I am giving, because for that you need to learn little bit program, right? What we can do is all are submit buttons only. For this submit button, I am giving a name. Submit button is having a name. Submit button is having a name. Name is submit. So, or say action. Name is action. And the second also name is equal to action. Third is also having name as action. That means all submit buttons have same name. That name is action. But the value for first button is insert. The value for second button is update. And the value for third button is delete. That means all are having same name, but value is different. Observe carefully now. I will remove this logic part. Just only form is enough. Now see here in the form, this is our URL, okay. And in this form, observe when I click on update button, you can see action is update. In the URL, it is submitting action as update. Action as update. When I click delete, it will submit action as delete. When I click insert, it will say action as insert. That means our programmer will collect that action name. Is it insert or update or delete? According to that, they will perform different functionality. That means form is having 3 submit buttons which can do 3 different functionalities. And how the developer knows which submit button clicked? By collecting its value. By collecting its value. When a form is submitted, button value is also submitted. But in order to submit the button value, so the button should have a name. And if you give a same name for all buttons, that means for all buttons only one name, but value will be changing. According to value, you can easily identify which button they click. Is it insert? Is it update? Is it delete? This is the technique we use in the background. We have seen a lot of people, even experienced people also facing problem in answering this question. We have seen so many because we deliver advanced technologies training. When we deliver advanced technology training, several experienced people come to learn advanced technologies. For them also this concept is unknown. That means they Google, they search for how to identify this. Right? That means many experienced people still don't have a proper idea of how to identify this. And this is a simple logic. And this is a question at experience level also. That means how you will identify which submit button click. For that, several people at experience level, they try several programs. They will say that I will use an Ajax program, I will use a JavaScript program. No need to do that. In HTML itself, you can tell. That means in HTML itself, you can identify which submit button clicked. If you can use name and value, it's easy. You don't need to write any program also. Right? Program is used to collect the value and add more functionality to that. Different functionality we will add. But collecting is very simple. Knowing about which submit button is clicked is very simple. For that, you have to use this technique. So to handle various functionalities. So, and here another question now. How to identify specific submit click? How to identify specific submit click? Answer by using name and value attributes. By using name and value attribute. By using name and value attributes. That means you have to design like this in a form, just form. So we have button, type is submit. So name is action and value is equal to insert. It is like some insert. So that is one button. Similarly, we can add other buttons. Let's copy. I am adding another button. Only the value will change to delete. Delete or update or something we have to define in this way. Delete and close form. This is the technique of identifying which submit button clicked. So button type is submit, name is action. Same name for all the buttons, but value will be changing. What is advantage of this? When user submits, then it can even identify which submit button is clicked. Based on that, it can perform different functionalities. So which you will learn in JavaScript, you will learn how to collect that name and write different functionalities. That means if value is insert, do insert work. If value is delete, do delete work. But identifying it is very important, right? Another question here, another question. Can we define multiple forms in a page? Can we define multiple forms in a page? That means, can we have more than one form in a page? So the answer is yes. You can have multiple forms in a page. And every form will have unique ID or name. Every form will have unique ID or name. By using that unique ID and name, you have to refer the forms in your logic. So that means in a page, can we have multiple forms? We can have multiple forms. There can be more than one form in a page. And submit buttons work for every form separately. Submit button work for every form separately. That means, for example, here, suppose we are designing multiple forms. For example, this is a form, field set, legend, so register. And here we have a form and a simple text box input. I say email, input type is equal to email. Input type is equal to email. Okay. And here we have a submit button. If I don't give type as submit, by default it will be submit. So I will give this as register. Okay. And another field set I am creating, and in this we will have a legend, and here I defined as login. And we have a form and say username, and input type is equal to text. And we have a button called login like this. So here name as email, and here name as username. Okay. Now you can see we have two forms inside the page. And you see there are two forms. And two forms can have individual functionality. That means I clicked the name, so username and login, this form will submit. And I entered email and click on register, this form will submit. That means you can have multiple forms. Which form submit you clicked, only that form data will be submitted. That's good. But unfortunately, what happens is, if you use multiple forms, when you submit a form, then entire page will reload. That means entire page will reload again. To handle this mechanism, this problem, we use a concept called AJAX. By using AJAX, what we can do, we can separate these two in a page we will separate those two and make them asynchronous. Asynchronous means when you click register, only register will be posted. When you click login, only login will be posted. It will not refresh the entire page. For that, we use a concept called AJAX. But without AJAX also that is possible. The point is after submitting, entire page will load. Entire page will load. So you can have multiple forms. There is no problem inside this. Now another question is, can we define nested forms? Can we define nested forms? That means a form within another form. A form within another form. Can we define nested forms? A form within another form. And the answer for this is no, not possible. This cannot happen. You cannot have nested forms. It's not possible. So it is invalid. Then we have to manage this by using other techniques. This is never possible. So we have to manage through other techniques. We have to use other techniques like jQuery, AJAX techniques. We use them. That means the question is simple actually. Question is nothing but here, suppose, because for example, you have Amazon. Suppose this is a form. In this form, we have a heading, some register. And in this, we have input type is equal to text. So this is just username. Okay. So username, input type, text, we define like this. Actually, this username and another password, these are some details. Input type is equal to password, something like this. This is one category. In this, I have another category. In this, I have another category. That means I am defining another category. Suppose this is address, or says, address. And in this, we are asking here input postal code. Postal code. And here we have input type is equal to text. Now our intention is, when user enters the postal code, we can put a button and say verify. Verify the postal code, and it gets the city name and display the city name. But remember, this is the main form. Inside that main form, this address postal code must be verified separately. And in that case, we designed that in a form again. That means when I click verify button, only this form should verify the postal code, city name and details, and say that, okay, this city found, this postal code is valid. After that, finally, entire register form should have another button, am I right? And that means I will put another break here. I should have another button called register. That means our intention is to design like this. Actually, here we are having two forms. So you can see this is the parent form. In this parent form, this is separate again. Our intention is to verify the details before registering. Verify the postal code before registering. Now, this is the concept. This is not possible. We cannot have like that. But this is a very regular requirement. This is a very common requirement. You can see even when you are registering, when you are typing username, while typing username, it will verify and it will show you username exists. Please try another. That means you haven't clicked register button. Before that, it is verifying. That means your data is submitted partially to the servers. For that, we need multiple nested forms. Inside a form, another form to handle certain action. This is not possible. That means this type of design is not possible. Functionality can be achieved by using other techniques. For that, you have to learn a concept called AJAX. That means if anybody asks, like in a form, can I have another form? In a form, you can I have another form? That means this is invalid. Understood? You cannot have a form inside another form. That's not valid. Then how you can manage such type of functionalities? By using other implementations. In HTML, this is completely invalid. You cannot write a form tag inside another form tag. It's not possible. Right? Anyway, it is not possible. So for that, you have to use alternative techniques. Right? These are all form related basic. Now, once we know all this, now we need to learn one more concept I told you. What is it? Regular expression. How to validate the forms? We have to learn validations. For that, we have to learn how to write regular expressions. Then we will try to design some real world forms. Designing real world forms means, suppose now we will try to design Netflix. You have this form. That means now we can design this Netflix homepage. Netflix homepage like screen, or you see Amazon. When you go to Amazon, and in this Amazon, suppose Amazon have a sign-in page. Now we will page. Oh, it's slow. Yeah, you go to here sign in page. When you go to the sign in page, we will try to design this form, right? How to create such forms, how we can handle that form. So if you can do that, that means exactly we cannot replicate until or unless you learn Bootstrap. So 95% we can achieve now. With Bootstrap 100% we can achieve that, because those shades, color shades and effects requires knowledge of CSS. Other things we can achieve the functionality. We must able to learn how to design the forms and put validation for the form. That we will see in our next session, right? Tomorrow we will discuss about that. So tomorrow entire session will be on this regular expression, which is very important. And I will not repeat this in again JavaScript and jQuery, but in JavaScript, jQuery regularly you have to use them. So here you have to learn it perfectly, then you can implement and save the time in JavaScript and jQuery. Okay, and not only JavaScript, jQuery, in future Angular, React, Vue, anywhere, regular expressions are very important for validation, right? Once you learn in HTML, everywhere same, right? Tomorrow you will see that, right?